Well, one of the best ones we did, I think it was the last big one we did because it sort of escalated. My husband and I had pulled a similar prank on some friends of ours that had left town, and they asked us to kind of just check in on their house every once in a while. And so when I told Sue what we had done, she thought it was a great idea. And her nephew, Stephen, was going to the U of A at the time in Tucson, and he had an apartment with some friends. And he had this family chair that Sue thought it really belonged to her, and somehow he ended up with it. And she was trying to, jokingly saying, gosh, I'd really like to get that chair back. And, well, he is out of town. And so the prank was, we decided to make it look like there'd been this huge party at their apartment while they were gone. So we made up a party invitation that said, come early, stay all night, drinks, blah, 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 music. And then we left several of those crumbled up. Well, okay, so first we had to get into the apartment. And we went down to scout it, and we thought, we probably couldn't break in, but we could. She's the aunt, so she could say, I left something in my nephew's apartment. The manager would let us in. We'd leave these things, but we went down there, and it turned out he had a sliding glass door, and so we tried that thing first we tried the credit card, but we just picked the door up and it opened, we lifted it slightly and it slid open, and so we were in. So we got all of our. We left and came back with, beer cans and wine bottles and ashtray. We just staged this. It looked like we were in this blowout party there. And we had my favorite one was we took one of my old cassette tapes and we pulled the tape out, and then we kind of stuck it in the cassette player, so it looked like their cassette player was just like completely So. And then we locked it back up and left. So Sue kept waiting to hear from him, because and she took the chair. So the chair was the only thing missing. So she kept waiting to hear from him because she knew that he would, they'd come back, they'd see this, they'd see the chair was gone, and he would say, of course, Sue. And she never heard from him. And so, like a week went by, and so finally, I can't remember if he finally called her or if she called him. So what happened was they got back, and they thought they had been seriously broken into. And so they called the police, and that's what we found out, they fingerprinted the place. So I'm sure my fingerprints and Sue's are on file with the Tucson police.
In addition to the incident with the
police helicopter. Well, but so he never mentioned the chair to her, and she never mentioned it to him. And a couple of years went by, and finally it was driving her crazy because what happened though, I forgot to say. After the police left, the guy, they were so freaked out by this whole thing that they were relocated into a different apartment. I mean, we decided, we had really overdone it, and we needed to scale back our practical jokes on people. But, Sue then finally brought the chair out in the open in her apartment when Stephen came to visit, and he never mentioned it still. I don't know, he never put it together. And it was after Sue died, I just confessed, and I just opened my mouth and it came out. I think it was more Sue talking than me. Mm-hmm. And I just told him, and he was completely blown away. He had no idea it was us.